Near the end of the 15th century, the Indian subcontinent was the center of global trade. Ports like Calicut were high-energy hubs for the world's most sought-after goods, specifically rare spices and rich textiles. European powers sought this wealth, but lucrative overland trade routes were entirely blocked by powerful Middle Eastern empires. That changed in 1498. Vasco da Gama charted a direct ocean route around Africa, dropping anchor right on the Indian coast. This maritime connection began a steady shift in the flow of global goods, creating a persistent bypass that land-based empires could no longer control. Yet, the first Europeans didn't arrive as invaders. They were merchants asking local rulers for permission to trade. Soon, trading rivalries brought other maritime powers to the coast. By the early 17th century, the English, the French, and the Dutch had all established their own operations, known as East India Companies. These weren't standard businesses. They were heavily armed, private joint stock corporations. They built fortresses, hired their own soldiers, and competed for coastal trading monopolies. How did competing bands of foreign merchants eventually come to conquer and govern one of the most populous regions on Earth? The takeover was made possible by a shift in local politics. Throughout the 18th century, the once mighty Mughal Empire began a steady disintegration. As the Mughals lost control and the rival Maratha Empire weakened, the subcontinent splintered. A centralized landscape broke apart into dozens of smaller, competing states. This internal fragmentation gave European corporations the opening they needed to move from simple trade to direct manipulation. The British East India Company realized that protecting their profits required more than just trade deals. It required political control. They used their private armies to aggressively eliminate French rivals from the region, securing a dominant position on the coast. Next, they approached local rulers, offering military protection in exchange for exclusive trade rights. This strategy led directly to a watershed moment, the 1757 Battle of Plassey. At Plassey, the company used its private forces and a secret betrayal to overthrow the Nawab of Bengal, installing a subservient proxy ruler in his place. In the aftermath, the company gained the right to directly collect taxes. Their business model shifted from trading goods to extracting regional wealth. Plassey transformed the East India Company into an imperial power, using its profits to fund the subjugation of almost the entire subcontinent over the next century. Corporate rule was brutal and exploitative, sowing deep resentment among the Indian population. In 1857, that boiling tension finally exploded into a massive armed rebellion that raged against the East India Company's rule. The 6-month conflict was devastating, with heavy loss of life on both sides. While the rebellion was suppressed, it proved a private corporation could no longer govern a subcontinent. In response, the British government abolished the East India Company and established the British Raj, direct imperial rule by the crown. Queen Victoria took the title of Empress of India, formalizing the shift from a corporate asset to an imperial colony. The human cost was staggering. Aggressive wealth extraction and imperial policies turned crop failures into catastrophic famines that killed tens of millions. India became the jewel in the British crown, but its wealth was purchased at an unimaginable cost to the people living there. The shared trauma of the Raj united a diverse subcontinent into a singular mass independence movement. This effort spanned from Gandhi's nonviolent campaigns to the militant actions of revolutionary leaders. In 1947, the movement achieved its goal. India gained independence, forcing the British to transfer power. However, the exit was chaotic. The region was split into the dominions of India and Pakistan, leading to a bloody partition and one of the largest human displacements in history. The story of colonial India stands as a reminder of the consequences that follow when a nation's sovereignty is traded for corporate profit.